Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast. My name is Andy Spiteri, and joined, as always, by a nice and recovered, very healthy Dakota Lasky. Dak, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, those were 2 weeks of hell. I feel 100% now. I feel great. Doing last week's episode certainly helped and put some nice energy back into my body, but now I'm all the way there, feeling good. It's super ridiculously hot out, and I turned my AC off to do this, so I'll be melted probably by the end of this. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this episode. Glad to be talking some more Metroid, and great to hear your voice again, Andy. How you doing?
You know, I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain. It's a beautiful day. I burnt the heck out of myself. Speaking of hot, last week, so my face looks like a ripe little tomato right now. But
Oh, no.
Can't complain.
Yeah.
What a lot of people weren't complaining about was our show last week. We weren't sure if you were going to, kick out and be able to record, so we brought in Elias Thompson to join us. For some reason, I think that people seem to enjoy his guest spot, but not me, by God. We're going to try and wash away the stink of Elias this week by answering one of the questions that we didn't get to last week, and that was, what is our ideal plot for Metroid 5? But
Ooh.
before we get there, a few things to talk about really quickly. There was a ginormous leak of Nintendo 64 beta prototypes and all sorts of other goodies that came online officially earlier this week. Dak, I know that you were pretty fired up about this. Why don't you walk us through kind of what stuck out to you?
Yeah, so obviously as Metroid fans, we didn't really get in on the fun because there was no N64 Metroid game, which is something we'll be talking about in the coming weeks. But yeah, I thought this was really awesome because there were so many cool things that got revealed. Obviously, the big Luigi was actually supposed to be in Super Mario 64, which was like, we kind of knew that, but not really. But now it's confirmed. L is real. I thought that was so awesome. So all the beta assets from that and like the uncompressed like renders and sound files that were released. I heard Luigi sneeze for the first time in the N64. Like I don't know, that was bliss for me. And then stuff like even from Ocarina of Time, like there was a potentially like a boss rush mode, like the early Kokiri Forest, some of the Zelda 2 and like Super Nintendo stuff got leaked as well. I know there was like a Luigi pixel like flipping off the camera and like an early beta Yoshi. Star Fox 2 was supposed to have a human character. There was supposed to be like a castle town or like a city kind of track in Mario 64 or Mario Kart 64 that was kind of hinted at in an interview, but now we actually got to see it, and I think it might have been based on the castle town from Ocarina of Time. And then there was even the Diamond and Pearl leaks, like the beta assets from that. I don't know. There were some really cool leaks. I've been retweeting it on my Twitter and all that stuff, the files, and there was like a new like enemy found in Super Mario 64 that was kind of like a early like Chuckya. It was like a combination like a Bomb character too, and a bully. I don't know. I thought the leaks were so awesome. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it and seen it on the internet. And even though it wasn't Metroid related at all, I still thought it was really cool as a Nintendo fan to see all that stuff come out. It's kind of like, it's unearthing like treasure from like your childhood and like something you haven't seen like in so long, or something that you thought existed but didn't. I don't know. I thought it was just like it filled me with so much wonder and like enthusiasm and energy, and it was really cool seeing all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I thought it was awesome, and it also made me wish that there was a Metroid game around on the N64 that we could have gotten some beta elements from too.
Yeah, and we are going to be covering what we think a potential N64 Metroid game could have looked like. I know that I was kind of poo-pooing on the leaks or whatever
You
before
were.
the show started, Dak, but there are two things actually that did stick out to me that I thought were cool. One, you mentioned how there was the Yoshi beta,
Yeah.
and I love that Yoshi basically looked like he did in the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Because I love the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and it was pretty cool to me as a Zelda fan to see that originally it looks like one of the original concepts for Majora's Mask was to actually have 7 days instead of 3 days.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool thinking about what could have been in that certain scenario. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff out there. We have some very Zelda-centric articles over on ZeldaDungeon.net if you guys feel like checking that out. Lots of stuff about Zelda 2 Remake. And then there's, of course, stuff floating out about all the hidden gems in Mario 64, which I guess was almost called Ultra Mario at one
Oh, I
point.
didn't hear
So
that. Really? That's I would
they
play Ultra
actually
Mario.
they even designed the word Ultra in the same font as
Huh.
like the Mario logo. It's kind of it's you know what, it's pretty cool actually.
That's what I'm
So
saying,
that's
man.
out there. That's out there if you guys want to take a look. Before we get into Metroid 5, let's also talk about what was kind of a story, but also not really a story. It's something that's been known about for a while. Brie Larson has once again voiced up and said that she wants to play Samus in a Metroid movie. It seemed like a lot of people were talking about this week. We actually tweeted out our old episode all about what we want from a Metroid movie, which you can check out in our archives. And yeah, I just want to voice my support again for, good on Brie Larson for kind of campaigning about a role that she really wants. Will it ever happen? No, probably not. But you know what? That's okay. That's fine. And you know what? The more I think about it, I know a lot of people seem to hate Brie Larson for some reason. But the more I think about it, I think she's fine. I think she'd make a good Samus because I feel like the thing that really makes a good portrayal is like passion for that character. We kind of saw it with the Witcher series and how Henry Cavill really wanted to be Geralt of Rivia. So like, I feel like if by some miracle this movie ever happened and they got Brie, I feel like her passion alone would probably carry it to be a decent movie, if nothing else.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's a great actress. People seem to not like her because she's opinionated and vocal, which I don't have a problem with, and has nothing to do with her acting ability. And I think there was a discussion of like, well, how much of a Metroid fan is she? Does she only like Samus because she plays Smash Brothers? I don't really care about that stuff, And if someone's gonna campaign for a Metroid movie and have them be involved in it, by all means, go for it. Because at the end of the day, yeah, it's not gonna happen. So it's really kind of a non-issue. But I don't know. I hate seeing like people on the internet just like go absolutely just crazy over something like
Yeah.
this, especially with someone who they don't know personally and would do a fine job. So I don't know. I personally would like to see Charlize Theron play Samus. I think Brie Larson would be great too. And a Metroid movie, as much as it, people might be afraid it could, ruin the franchise or be botched or be bad or blah blah blah. Hey, maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing, but we all know it's not going to happen. So it's not something to lose sleep over. I thought it was pretty much a non-news thing because this has kind of happened in the past. She's said this before. But yeah, I mean, hey, if seeing someone in the mainstream talk about Metroid at all, I think is cool,
Yeah.
and so that's what I took away from it.
I was about to say, man, like if nothing else, Brie Larson has tweeted about a Metroid movie. She has 2 million followers on Twitter. She
Exactly.
tweeted a wicked image about it was her with kind of the mock-up Samus helmet. It actually looks like super badass. It's a really cool
Yeah, I
image
think
by
Boss
Boss
Logic.
Logic.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah,
Boss Logic does some really cool photoshops. Been following him for a while on Twitter, and I saw that. I was like, yeah, this is what I like to see.
dude, it looks so cool. And so just for Brie Larson to like retweet that, like we've got 115,000 people that like that image that maybe didn't know what Metroid was before. Maybe they're
Exactly.
gonna check it out. So I'm all
Exactly.
about that.
Yep, that's what I took away from it. So yeah, hey, and maybe we're wrong. Maybe a Metroid movie, maybe like, oh, we'll actually make it this time. It'll come out in
Hey, maybe.
25 years. So who knows?
And to your point, I don't care if she's only a casual fan of Metroid. If
Yeah, neither
somebody
do
with
I.
her platform is like saying, this would be cool, and here's a Metroid to my 2 million followers, I'm down with that.
If you like Metroid, I don't care how or why you like Metroid, I mean, I got into Metroid through Smash Brothers. I don't think there's any problem with that. And I don't think she needs to know the whole Metroid wiki to play Samus, If she likes Samus, she can play Samus. Who cares?
I 100% agree with you. All right, let's get to what everybody is here for, Dak.
Yeah.
Last week, Doominimal. God damn, I
Doominimal.
butchered it again. Doominimal. So he asked us what our ideal plot for a Metroid 5 game would be. And this was inspired, of course, by our buds over at Shinesparkers, putting out an article written by Darren Kerwin, and he detailed all of the things that he wanted to see in Metroid 5. I really wanted to read it, but I didn't want to read it and then kind of subliminally like take some ideas from from his suggestions. So I held off until last night. I wrote my plot for Metroid 5 at about 1 in the morning, and then I finally checked it out. It's a great article. It's over on Shinesparkers if you want to go and check it out. They definitely kind of got the ball rolling on what plot elements we want to see in Metroid 5, but we are here to take that ball and run it over the finish line. Dak, you were telling me earlier that you've had the idea of what you want to see from Metroid 5 in your head for like over a decade. Let's start with you.
Well, you're putting big pressure on me, man. It's like the general idea of what I've wanted to see and like the concepts and whatnot. What I wanted to see in a Metroid 5 game. Yes, that's have been on my mind for a while. But the actually how it would play out, I haven't really never really super thought it out because I want to see how the game would do it. I want to see how they would actually do it in real life. So I was actually hoping to hear your first, but I'll start with mine first. I got it all written down. And I will preface it with it's not perfect, and I'm sure that I could,
of course,
I could sit down and I think my dog just sneezed. Wow, that was loud. And
bless you.
Yeah, and really could flesh out even more and can make it even better. But I think this would be the general gist of what I would like to see. So
yeah, I, of course that goes without saying. We came up with these pitches. We're not story writers. We're fans, and this is what we would want to see. I mean, story writers in the sense that,
of course.
Yeah. But I'm excited to hear your pitch, and I guess the floor is yours.
All right, so Metroid 5, right? Whatever it would be called. I think we can agree though. I would like to be have it called Metroid Dread, but Metroid 5, right? Metroid 5. So it starts right at the end of Fusion. Like there's no separation. It's start finish right there. Like immediately right after Metroid Fusion, beginning of the game. Samus is warned of incoming Federation vessels immediately. They're unmarked though, and they're not signaling for her to stop. They're going after her immediately. So Samus is involved in this immediate intro sequence where she is fighting off multiple unmanned, unmarked Dark Federation ships in the vacuum, and she has all her upgrades, right? Because as you all know, in my potential Metroid 5 game, she doesn't lose any of the stuff she had in the previous game. She starts with it and keeps it. So she has all that stuff from the previous game, and she is just taking on these ships one by one. She's supported by Atom AI and her ship, and she's just blasting through these ships. Boom, boom, boom. Just going through like a human missile, just destroying them one after another after another. It's a small fleet of ships, but she's taking them on. She's at full power. She's destroying them, right? So she's doing this, but it is a pretty hard fight. It's like 1 on 10, 1 on 20 in terms of these ships and drones, and she's taking them on one by one, fighting them off in the vacuum, trying to, cling to a surface here, go in here, grapple into another one, destroying it, boom, poof, huge stuff going off, right? But it's getting harder and harder. The ships, though, they realize this is a hard fight. They can't just immediately take on Samus Aran. She's the strongest warrior in the galaxy. So they start to retreat a little bit. A wormhole appears. The Federation has been working on, if you all remember from Metroid Prime 3, towards the end of that game, they actually, they take control of one of the Leviathans and use that to generate a wormhole at the end of that game, if you remember that. They've created technology based on that from Metroid Prime 3. So they can create wormholes and use that to bring their ships in and out, right? So the ships are trying to evacuate and trying to get out because it's like, damn, we can't take Samus on. They're stragglers. They're trying to survive. And Samus is like, F that. You're not getting out of here. She starts shooting at the wormhole. She's trying to destroy it. She's trying to disrupt it. Any kind of means to make sure she can try to, get a survivor, a witness, something. Trying to figure out what are these unmarked Dark Federation ships coming after her, right? The wormhole reacts violently, starts sucking everything in, sucks Samus in, sucks debris from the fight, Adam in the ship, and she gets thrown into this wormhole, and Adam is able to come in and follow her just in time. The end of the first intro sequence. Next section, Samus ends up on the other side of this wormhole. There's debris from the fight. The Adam ship, is right there, and she's floating in space. She's in an uncharted area of the galaxy, near a desolate planet she's never seen before. The debris starts to fall on rain onto this planet like a cascading thunderstorm as it falls from orbit. Samus gets picked up from the vacuum of space by Adam's ship and is taken to the surface. Meanwhile, the corrupt overseer from Fusion, if you remember from Fusion, works in secret on destroying Samus's public image and fabricating evidence against her to convince the actual leaders of the Federation, as the Federation overall is a good, mostly good, non-corrupt organization. Not comments on capitalism and government in the real world right now, But let's for all case and points in this story, the Federation overall, the leaders they mean well, they're good, but this part of the Federation isn't, the smaller one, and this overseer is working in this small, dark, corrupt part of the Federation to destroy Samus's image and fabricate more evidence against her. She didn't just destroy the BSL; she planned on doing it from the start of the mission in Fusion. They say she didn't just destroy the X; she took the X with her, and she's going to use the X against the Federation. All lies used to turn Samus into the enemy. So back on the planet, Samus is exploring this desolate planet, multiple biomes. She's exploring the remnants of what seems like an abandoned Federation colony. There's an empty, abandoned city. She goes through it. She's reflecting on what she wants at the moment. All the things that she's gone through in life. She wants a safe haven. She's done with this fighting. She's done with the Federation. She's done with the X, all of it. She wants to just be done with it. So she wants a safe haven. She wishes the Chozo could give that to her. She reminisces on the old days. She wishes the Chozo were around to give that safe haven to her. That drives her curiosity as she's exploring this planet a little bit. She learns more about seemingly how the Federation treats its common people on a far out colony. And then she finds survivors, human survivors. She starts to help these survivors and is exploring, looking for more. They tell her she's not alone on this planet. So she goes deeper, and she goes deeper into the surface of the planet. There, she finds evidence, she finds catacombs, caves. She finds evidence of civilization. Then she finds evidence of science and experimentation, human experimentation happening under the surface in these catacombs and these structures, laboratories deep under the planet's surface. She takes and forages and upgrades what she can where she can.
Right.
And she sees that some of these places have been lived in. That's where she comes across what seems like a hallucination of sorts. Living, breathing Chozo, occupying the planet beneath the surface. It's like a dream. She meets Chozo who have heard of her stories, know her legend, treat her not like a god, but I'm close to it. And she learns so much. She learns from these young Chozo and what they're doing, what they've been working on. But then she learns from those Chozo what the Federation are up to currently. The Chozo tell her that they're broadcasting her bounty throughout the galaxy and spreading those lies I mentioned earlier, destroying her public image and turning everyone against her. The longer she's there, though, her and Adam realize that not everything seems so hunky-dory. It's Chozo militaristic. They're radicalized. They want Samus to join them on their next mission. They want to strike back at the Federation, which at first Samus is like, that's not a bad idea. But Samus doesn't really want that. She wants peace. She just wants to clear her name, and she wants to stop fighting. The Chozo push her and push her. They train her more. They give her some new upgrades. They show her what they're capable of, what she's capable of, and more. She smartly takes what upgrades and information what she can, but she doesn't indulge too much. Unbeknownst to her, on the side, one of these Chozo wants to cash in on that bounty and have told the Dark Federation where she is and where they are. Around the same time, Samus is exploring more of the Chozo area on her own, despite many of these areas being off limits. She learns what has happened on this planet was not caused by the Federation, but by those Chozo, as well as the human experimentation, all done by the Chozo. She finds more evidence of more X-parasite experimentation. They're hell-bent on using it as a bioweapon, just like the Federation. She finds feral clones of the X, clones of clones of clones of clones, these lines of just constantly cloned to create these sick and abnormal abominations. And she finds feral clones of the SAX and of Ridley. Of course, you gotta have Ridley in this game. Clones even farther removed from their originals. They almost look somewhat even, like, almost unrecognizable. She learns this and she's rocked. She knows the galaxy is full of bad people and bad things, but even still, it changes her image of the Chozo. She shouldn't be surprised, and she really isn't, but it still weighs deep. Her image of the Chozo is tainted, but she still knows there's good in the Chozo, just maybe not here. She's like, well, I gotta destroy this. Let's do it. So she starts destroying it all and makes her escape with the Chozo hot on her tail. They can't have this. They can't stand this. And she's destroying everything. As she does, though, the unmarked Dark Federation encroach on her position as they've been tipped off to where she is. So now, as she's getting back to the surface with the Chozo hot on her tail, rising up behind her like hot magma, The Federation are coming from orbit, and she's fighting a war on two fronts, two enemies right at the same time. Then the Federation are starting to land on the planet, trying to get footing, and the Chozo start to attack them. It's an all-out war. It's chaos, as all three forces are going at each other. And Samus is just trying to get out of there. She knows she has to end this. In the heat of the battle, the unmarked Dark Federation try to wormhole in more forces. And in this opportunity, Samus gets in the ship, she flies out there, and after another heated battle, she uses that wormhole to escape. She ends up in a huge Federation capital city, where she sees all the lies and her new image right in front of her being plastered and broadcasted everywhere. She's truly being marked as a criminal, and her crimes are listed alongside her. She goes deep into the capital city, still on the run. Final act. We're in the capital city. Adam says that there's surveillance footage from the BSL. It must be somewhere. It's in the archives. And combined with that, plus the recordings of the communications from Fusion that he had with the corrupt overseer and his underlings, all together, Samus should be able to use that to clear her name. The whole capital city is on alert, with the bounty still on Samus's head. She's getting attacked from vigilantes. Even average citizens look at her with, disdain and hatred. She goes deeper and deeper, and she gets what she needs, but it's hard. The security of the capital city and all these different hunters and the vigilantes coming after her, trying to get the bounty. The Marines and the police trying to capture and arrest her, all coming at her at the same time, and she goes deeper and deeper into this huge military-industrial complex, this huge structure and building of this capital city. Is just trying to get into the depths of it and get what she needs. During this, as all those things get crazy, the Chozo make their way through that wormhole, and they begin to start attack the Federation capital city. So there's the whole war that starts fighting right on the outside of the city and in the city itself as Samus is going farther. The whole capital city is on alert. Everything is just absolutely crazy. She gets the evidence she needs, and while she does, though, she finds old footage of herself on past missions. In the academy, she reminisces again, but she realizes all good things have to come to an end. She gets back out and takes control of a Chozo ship, which she uses to try and get away a little bit, where she finds that Ridley clone from earlier stowed away on the ship. It's sick, it's dying, but it's still lethal. It's on the edge. It's like fight or flight at all times. Samus decides, all right, Ridley, I'm going to let you loose and let you do your thing. And Ridley goes out and starts attacking the feds and the Chozo, attacking everything, giving Samus a much-needed distraction. She gets back out, and she realizes she has to now broadcast what she has. As the Marines and the police and everyone is slowly, but very, very surely, maybe not even slowly, very rapidly, encroaching on her and getting closer to capturing her. She goes to where she has to find the best possible broadcast position, whatever that is, and is getting there and fights her way through that, getting through these unmanned drones and these Marines. She's fighting the Chozo, everyone to get to this position. However, when she finally gets there, she realizes that the Ridley X clone is committing wanton carnage, and it's hurting civilians as well. And Samus has realized the mistake she's made. In the heat of all of this, she realizes she can't just destroy everything, no matter how much she just wants this all to end. She goes back and she fights Ridley again. She's like, all right, I'm taking your ass out one more time. And she does so. She destroys the Ridley X clone, and then she thanks him for the help in the end and knows she'll probably see him again. And winks at the camera. Maybe not. Finally, she's able to broadcast all of her stuff in front of everybody, just as those Fed police and the Marines are about to arrest her. She states her case and broadcasts it in front of everybody, and everybody sees the truth. They see not only her truth, but what the Federation had been doing with the secret research on the Metroids and the X-Parasite and the BSL and the whole cover-up and everything. Everything gets exposed right then and there, and Samus clears her name. With her name cleared, she helps the good Federation Marines who are just about to arrest her take out the dark, unmarked, the Dark Federation forces and the Chozo. Together, they work together and they clear out the city and end the fight. And they win. Samus destroys the bad Federation and pushes the Chozo back. In the end, the corrupt Federation members, they're beaten, they're charged, and they're sentenced. The rogue Chozo slip away, hurt and battered, through their wormholes, and the fight ends. And Samus, at the end of the day, resigns from the Federation. And the epilogue, everything with the city rebuilding and the good Federation forces taking care of the corrupt charge members. Samus just knows that it's not the end of it. There will always be corrupt members of the Federation. There will always be bad people in it, and there will always be those Chozos still out there lingering in space. So like I said, she resigns. She's done with it. She goes off on her own in the epilogue, not as a Federation bounty hunter, a warrior, or soldier, but as a regular civilian looking for another Chozo colony, hoping they're different, hoping she can spend her time there in peace. Finn.
Okay.
That's my game.
Okay, yours definitely wrapped up a lot more loose ends than mine did. I left mine on somewhat of a cliffhanger.
I definitely wrote mine to like wrap up like a lot of stuff. I want closure. I feel like after all this
I feel
time,
like I feel like one of my biggest critique would be like that's almost like closure on the Metroid series.
yeah, in a way it would be. Yeah, I think it would be. That was my intent. Yeah, it would be a closure like the what we've known so far for sure.
Okay. Okay, and so I mean, it's not really related to story, but like this is a 2D game, right? That we're talking Metroid.
Yeah. This is I mean, yeah. This. Okay. I mean, you know, hey man, there's a part of me. There's a part of me that would always want it to be a Metroid Prime game for sure, because all of that would. How sick would that be as a first-person shooter? It would be so good. But yeah, it would be a 2D game.
I like where you're going there. I like kind of the idea that you had with Ridley in particular. I have something of a similar idea, but kind of different.
Well, hold on, before you go on, I just wanted to say that, you know, at least with my intent on writing it and how I wanted it, is I definitely wanted to tie up stuff. I wanted to incorporate elements of like what we learned in Samus Returns, obviously taking a little bit. Yeah,
I'm not done talking about yours yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I still have a few things.
But yeah.
So our main setting for this game is going to be on like the Dark Chozo planet, and then the Galactic Federation city.
Yeah, those would be your two main locations.
Okay, so I guess you can kind of make the Chozo planet like whatever you want it to be, like different areas and stuff, because it's more like a gameplay thing than a story thing. But that's always important to me, is to have like different kind of. Like, I think Fusion did it really well, where like you have your ice sector and like your water sector, and you know what I mean, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking it would be like you would have the surface, which would have like the abandoned city and a couple different biomes and whatnot, and then you would have like the inner surface, which would be like caves, catacombs, and then you know, the inner like Chozo city, which would be even deeper and have multiple levels to it as well.
Right. Okay, so that's cool. So we get a callback to the Dark Chozo from Samus Returns. I'm presuming.
Mm-hmm.
That's
kind of, you know, I wanted them to be like the younger, you know, darker rogue Chozo that we saw in Samus Returns. Yeah.
So I wonder how. So I'm assuming that, and again, this is kind of like gameplay. It's not story, but I feel like they're kind of entwined. Would you be able to like switch once you kind of go back, and like once you're at the Galactic Federation city, go back to the Chozo planet?
No, that would be once that starts, that's where you are.
See, that's the only thing I don't really like, because like for me, I'm just like, okay, well, like I miss a lot of power-ups along the way, so like I want to go back and like sweep the board kind of thing. So I think if we could think of a way to get back there, that might really work for
she
me.
could jump back in that wormhole and go back.
I mean,
the wormhole would
it's
still
as simple
be
as
there.
Just like, yeah. I mean, you could make up any reason you want.
I think it would be like I was thinking that like once you get to the point where you're starting to you know, infiltrate like the secret Chozo stuff, like that kind of that's kind of like where you can't really go back, you know. It starts, you know, like pushing you forward. Yeah, I didn't really think about that actually. I definitely didn't, when writing it, intend for Samus, you know, story wise to be able to go back. So like gameplay wise, I'm not sure, because like, you know, she should have everything at that point. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, I definitely intended it as like once you got to the capital city, like you're there, and that would be kind of it.
And again, like I feel like I'm repeating myself, and like, but it's not really like, it doesn't pertain to story, but like at least in mine, I kind of had him in the back of my head, like, okay, how would I also weave like the typical like getting all the items in Metroid into the story to make it like make sense.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that I considered when I was writing up mine. So I think that for at least for me, like when I'm playing 2D Metroid, like kind of I don't want to say the story is secondary, but a big part of my enjoyment to those games is like going back and like getting all the upgrades, all the like really hard missile expansions and stuff like that. Stuff you don't even need, but it's just like I just want 100% it, right?
Oh, for sure. This would definitely be a game where like you got to make sure you've gotten the stuff before you go too far, because then
Yeah,
you can't go back. But yeah, this is for me. This would be a game that definitely leaned more on not more on story than gameplay, but like would definitely lean on story
right.
a lot because that's a lot of it would be very important to wrapping up a lot of these plot lines. Yeah, I think it would be kind of possibly difficult to not difficult, but I would have to think more on like how logically she would be able to go back. But I think on the Chozo planet there'd definitely be a good amount of opportunities to like go back and get stuff before like the plot continues to kind of push you forward. But yeah, I didn't think about that too much because I was just like let's get the
I
story
almost
going.
wonder. I wonder too if like you're kind of talking about the dogfight in space at the very beginning. I almost wonder if that would be kind of a cool little
Oh, that would
not
be
like a
so
mini game, but
sick.
like to control Samus's ship in space and stuff like that. Like I think that'd be pretty
Yeah,
cool.
part of it would be like controlling the ship and then also working in tandem with the ship to like get from one ship to another or to support you in a fight and stuff like that, like and being able to like command it to do one thing or like set it to do something or then maybe hop in it real
Yeah,
quick. Like I think that intro sequence would be so sick.
yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. Okay, yeah, you know what? I'm about what you've written so far. I think that's a cool concept. But Dak, I'm going to give you
Cool.
my concept, which I think is very cool. Although I'm going to preface it with I feel like you're going to hate it.
Well, hey man,
which,
I'm happy that you like mine to an extent because I wasn't sure how you were gonna like mine because I know it's more story than gameplay.
yeah.
So I'm ready to be pleasantly surprised. Let it rip.
All right, well, I know that you're going to hate one part in particular, so just actually two parts in particular, so just
Does it not have
let me
Ridley?
let me explain when I get
Because
there.
I will preface that if it doesn't have Ridley, that's okay.
You know what? I'll just I'll go ahead and we'll
all
get there.
right, all
Okay,
right.
so I also called it Metroid Dread, but when I was writing this, I was like, okay, well, I don't want it I don't want to call it Metroid Dread just because that's the name of a canceled game from forever ago. If we're gonna call it that, it needs to make sense. So I eventually thought of a reason to have it make sense. But before we get there, I want to set a few things on the table here. Um, so I kind of took a somewhat of a different direction where like I don't really I want to have like a fresh start from the events of Fusion, to a certain extent in that I think that Samus absorbing the SAX at the end of Fusion cures whatever the X did to her DNA. It makes her be able to put on her regular suits. It allows her to go back to zero suit form. It basically cures her of the X infestation. So that's done. It's over with. I also think that that we leave the X like kind of we let them lay. They were a good antagonist for Metroid Fusion, but I feel like they were more so just like a means to expose the corruption of the Federation more so than a constant threat that I want present in like the Metroid series going forward. So the X is pretty much going to stay retired. Um, as you know, I don't really love Adam. However, I feel like it wouldn't make sense for him not to be in this game. So I'm gonna kind of compromise here and say what my ideal role for Adam would be is have him as almost like the Colonel role from Metal Gear Solid, where he's kind of giving you the spiel about like this is your mission and like he's gonna lay it out at the beginning and like kind of an intro prologue scene and like he lays it out and then once you're inside and you're cut off from communication. So like Adam is still on the outside, but and he's still there, but he's not like overbearingly communicating with you at all times. Because to me, the big thing in Metroid is like the isolation that Samus experiences, and Fusion, being a fantastic game that it is, breaks that just a little bit for me. So we're gonna have Adam just on the outside. So this is going to be the first chapter in Samus's fight against the corrupt Galactic Federation. I've seen a lot of people say that like Samus should be on the run from them and the Federation's coming after her with their full force. I don't buy that. Not the Samus Aran that I know. I think that Samus would take the fight to the Federation. So, with that being said, we're finally at the start of the game. Adam, being a defector of kind of the Dark Federation, I'll call him, to steal your term, he tells Samus, of a top secret weapon and R&D facility that Samus intends to break into and basically appropriate all of their items. This R&D facility is called the Dreadnought. So it's a secret location, it's off the books, it's this big thing in space, nobody knows about it except for the Dark Federation, which Adam was a part of. So Samus is going to break in. Now, the Dreadnought is built like an impenetrable fortress. And like I kind of alluded to last week, Samus will basically have to get down into her Zero Suit in order to sneak in without being detected. The Federation knows that Samus is coming after them after the events of Fusion. This can be set, I don't know, maybe a couple months after. And they've rigged up this station, even though nobody knows about it. They've rigged it up to basically sound the alarm if there are any signs of Samus Aran's power suit life, which they have on record. So to get inside, Samus needs to get into her Zero Suit. But the silver lining is that Adam tells Samus of a top secret weapon that they have developed inside called the Dread Suit. Final name pending. So the Dread Suit is basically their version of Samus Aran's power suit. So Samus will sneak in, and her first priority is to steal it. And when she steals it, this immediately gives her abilities such as the Morph Ball, speed boosting, missiles, high jump, plasma beam, pretty much her whole arsenal. But she just has to get there first. So the opening salvo to this game is somewhat of a stealth intro segment, akin to the segment in Zero Mission. So once Samus finally gets there and steals the Dread Suit, and she's equipped, and she's good to go. Now, another thing about the Dread Suit is that this allows her to hack into the Dreadnought's controls, which lets her open certain doors. It lets her use her scan visor to scan, like, for story and information and stuff like that. We're going to be stealing a little bit from the Prime series. And then one thing that I thought would be cool is that the Dreadnought will be equipped with some different kind of gravity rooms. So by controlling the Dreadnought's controls, she can actually like rotate and flip rooms around to like kind of do puzzles and stuff that way. So she's got this Dread Suit. She is maxed out. She's got all of her weapons. She's got, partial control over the ship. And, she's looking like she's going to go and basically steal this suit and walk out of there and have one of the biggest weapons that the Galactic Federation has and turn it against them. Unfortunately, right as soon as she's about to get out of there, the Dreadnought's alarms go off and something has been released inside the facility. This causes an immediate lockdown and Samus cannot evacuate. So not only this, whatever is released inside the Dreadnought releases all of the other bioweapons and creatures and monsters and stuff that they have been working on in there. And they basically kill all of the human staff aboard the Dreadnought. So we have nothing except for Samus and all of these monsters left inside the Dreadnought. So at this point, Samus is going to progress through the game, kind of as normal. So she's going to get, some new power-ups. She'll get her missile expansions, power bomb expansions, whatever. But there will also be, and this kind of bleeds into gameplay, there's going to be new beams that are only compatible with the Dread Suit. There's going to be different ways to speed boost and Shinespark. There's going to be a different screw attack, all this different stuff. And also, Samus can also revert back to the Zero Suit if she wants, if she chooses to go through certain rooms in a stealthy manner rather than go full guns a-blasting. Again, this is kind of gameplay related, but I thought that these would be cool tweaks. Now, towards kind of the middle endish, Samus is going to eventually find a lone survivor on the Dreadnought, and it just so happens to be the scientist in charge of everything on the ship. Dak, you're going to hate this, but Samus finds Madeline Bergman. Now,
oh my god.
Yes, I know. I wasn't gonna go there, but I feel like it would be better to have a callback than to invent a new scientist out of thin air. So I know that you're gonna hate that, but that's okay. So Bergman will tell Samus that recently the Galactic Federation found something that they have been looking for a long, long time, and that the Dread Suit wasn't the main weapon that Adam thought it was. It was actually something else that they found. What they had found was a new species of life so valuable it would make even the X look weak by comparison. She tells Samus that they found several of these creatures, but brought back 3 reaching early adolescence. The 3 creatures broke out and is the cause of all the commotion happening in the Dreadnought. Samus vows to find the creatures and take them out. At the same time, the Galactic Federation has caught wind of Samus's intrusion into the Dreadnought and has sent in reinforcements. A special elimination unit led by Admiral Dane. Of course, we know Dane from Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. So Dane and his troops are on the way to neutralize Samus. Now, after maximizing the Dread Suit to 100% firepower and abilities, everything like that, Samus has got all of her different power-ups. She eventually tracks down the species that Bergman has been talking about. Space dragons. The same species that the former Ridley was a member of. Now, Ridley, as we know, was defeated in Super Metroid. His clone was defeated in Metroid Fusion. But we have finally found out what species he is. And now we have not one, not two, but 3 adolescent space dragons that could potentially grow up to be akin to Ridley. So Samus knows that these space dragons are going to pose a huge threat to the galaxy because, one Ridley was bad enough, let alone potentially 3, and potentially the rest of them on whatever planet the Galactic Federation found them on. So Samus will have a climactic battle, with the 3 adolescent space dragons, and these guys are showing intelligence and strength, and it's obvious that when they reach their full maturity, the 3 of them working together are going to be an unstoppable force. So Samus decides that she needs to take them down right then, right now. However, just as she's trying to finish them off, Dane finally shows up and confronts Samus. Dane is pleading with Samus, begging her to leave the Dreadnought and forget that this happened because he doesn't want to kill an old friend. He's trying to explain that the Galactic Federation is taking the space pirates' greatest weapon, which was Ridley, and turning it against them. And Samus is, of course, having absolutely none of it. She knows that these space dragons can't be controlled, that eventually they will rebel against the Galactic Federation. Dane, resigned, finally goes and says, well, Samus, I suppose we have to do this the hard way. The final boss of the game, Samus will fight off against Admiral Dane. He's got like a really badass looking, I don't know, like a Gundam mech or something. We can play around with that. But he's in this really cool like mechanoid, and they have a really awesome space battle, and eventually it ends the only way that, of course, it can, with Samus having to eliminate her former friend. So at the end, Admiral Dane is no more. However, this has led the space dragons to be able to flee off of the Dreadnought and into space. Madeline Bergman sets off the ship's self-destruct signal to take down all of the rest of the creatures on the ship and to eliminate any of the evidence of what happened, any of the evidence of where the space dragons came from, and Samus has to rush out of there in order to make it out alive. Samus boards her ship, vowing to find the 3 space dragons and hunt down the Galactic Federation that made her destroy a former friend. Now the credits are rolling, but in the ending secret hidden scene, obtainable only if you get 100% of the items, you will see a scene with the Overseer, and he will be on the phone with someone. We don't have to see who it is, but basically he will be saying that he'll be revealing the existence of even more Metroid breeding programs, and have it revealed that the introduction of Metroids to the new strand of Aeon from the Dark Chozo has caused them to mutate into different evolutions that we never knew was possible. Roll credits. Done. Finished. Dak, I know you hate Madeline Bergman, but what do you think?
Man, you really wrote Other M too. What the? I was not expecting that. Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I think what I hate the most is the Ridley thing, but I won't say hate because I don't hate that. I don't hate it. I don't like using hatred. Hatred is a strong word. The only thing I hate is Other M. But I don't hate your idea, Andy. I think it's actually pretty good. I think I also thought it was funny that you also did a callback to Metroid Prime 3, just like I did. I
like my callbacks. Now hold on. Let me explain something about Ridley really quick, because I knew you'd be disappointed that I didn't put Ridley in my game.
No. I'm not. I'm actually not. Because actually, when I was writing my story, Ridley originally wasn't in it. Ridley wasn't in my story, so I have no problem with that. I think my thing with Ridley is that I don't accept the other M explanation of what Ridley is, and I don't think that there's a Ridley species, right? So there's just one, right? I'm not interested in multiple Ridleys or Ridley species and all of that. I like that there's just one individual one. Um, but I don't think it's a bad idea, and I wouldn't hate. I don't hate that. I don't like that there's another M character in the game, but I understand your reasoning for it, and I think that's fine. I think actually the thing that probably doesn't vibe with you the most is that like it has that other M feel of like I'm on another ship, contained on another ship with bioweapons being released or whatever. It felt like when you were before you mentioned Bergman, I was like, this feels like other M to me when you're talking about it, like going into another ship with a weird name, and it's specifically doing, things on there that we've seen the Federation do before. Gameplay wise, I think it sounds cool, and sounds fun. But I also think that we clearly want different things from this sequel. I want closure, and
Yes.
you want, continuing of stuff.
Well, I mean, I don't ever want closure on the Metroid series.
I don't want
I think
closure on the
that
series, but I do want closure on some stuff that we've been seeing for a while, because I think that's good storytelling. I like some stuff. There's room for new stuff. I don't hate your idea, Andy. Do I like it more than mine? Absolutely not. I think I'm kind of over the contained ship Metroid thing. I want to explore a planet. I want to go to different locations. I'm not a big fan of the multiple Ridleys thing. I like just one Ridley and the weight and gratitude and whatnot of that. But and the Admiral Dane thing is kind of interesting though. Um, I don't hate it, but that's not where I would have gone with it. I don't hate it, and I think it would be cool to do the stealth thing again, and to go through the ship and kind of have like control of the ship in a little bit of a way. No, I don't hate it, but it does ring very other M to me, which is like I don't know if I want that, but I don't hate it, man. I don't hate it.
well, so a few things here. Um, there there's sort of I guess you can maybe say that there are other M-esque things. However, I think that we've both said on the show that what other M was trying to do in theory wasn't a bad idea. It was just executed absolutely horribly, right? So like
Yeah.
I think that you can like execute this in the right way. But to go back to Ridley for a second, part of me was just like, I feel like part of the fun of Ridley is not knowing, but at the same time, I want Ridley in Metroid, but at the same time, like Ridley, it's becoming a joke now where like he's died so many times, and it's just like, it's not, to me, it's not feasible to bring him back, like bring Ridley the character back, because like
No, for sure.
I don't want him to be like that comedy kind of character. Like I want him to be this big, intense dude that you get scared of, and like that really is kind of the thing when you fight Ridley. It's like man, it's a big fight feel. It's this intimidating monster. So my idea with Ridley is almost just like, have it almost again go back to Alien, where like in the first movie there is this sense of dread when you're this one xenomorph is stalking you,
Right.
but in the second movie it's just like there's like a ton of these things now. Now I think the second movie actually had way too many, but in Metroid Dread, it's like, oh my god, now there's three of them. We could barely deal with one, but let alone three. And I think that kind of sets it up in like maybe the next one where like you can have Ridley, but it's not Ridley, but and I'm not. We're not gonna do any of that evolution garbage from Other M. Like it's just like they're space dragons, that's their species or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was my way of including Ridley into the proceedings without like including Ridley, and I think it's kind of like a soft reset, because from there you can like I think that you're right. Like my game is almost like a soft reset for the Metroid series, and yours is like kind of a very much like a continuation or a closure rather. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah,
The
for
the
sure.
only thing, I guess, like the only thing in retrospect like I agree with you. I feel like I like my idea,
I'm sure you do. I'm
better.
sure you like your idea, and I like my idea. Yeah, of course.
Right. The only thing that I'm hung up on with yours is like it doesn't like it's a great story. It just doesn't feel like a Metroid game to me. You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah, but yours seems like reminds me of the bad one.
mine is a very it's a very much a Metroid game.
Yeah, well, because again, I didn't really write mine in terms of like gameplay, because like I was thinking of the
Right.
plot. When I'm imagining it, I'm imagining in my game you're exploring the planet. There's a lot of exploration and looking for things and unearthing stuff. But then there are very much like sequences that will direct you forward and aren't as much exploration to it. Um, I just wanted to get away from the like contained in a ship thing that we've done a bunch of times. And yeah, I did want closure in my stuff. My thing with Ridley too is that I like continuing what Ridley is, even if he is dead. Like whether it's he's a clone of a clone or a clone, or he's a hallucination, or he's a dream, or he's a ghost, or whatever it is, because he's dead or whatever. Um, I didn't want I think it still kind of gives permanence and mortality to what he's doing because it's not really Ridley, but the image is still there. It so still makes it real in a way, and that's why like in mine. I like, okay, Samus like kind of uses Ridley knowing that what Ridley is capable of because she's fought him so many times, but then still has to go back and kind of, tame him and take care of him at the end. So it still has that like, Ridley is still super powerful and dangerous, but it's not the same Ridley, and Samus knows that she can kind of take care of it. Which by this point in the story, I think is very reasonable because of how many times they've faced off. And I think having that lingering, because eventually, at least, let's say there was another game after my game, right? In that game, there might not be a Ridley, but maybe Ridley might dream about him, or there might be a hallucination like that. I think that would be a good continuation. That's still Ridley. I want Ridley to haunt Samus for the rest of her life, whether or not he's actually there or not. I don't need Ridley to actually exist. Ridley could be dead permanently, and that's fine. But the image and haunting of Ridley, I think, is still very important and is a big part of Samus' character. And for me, is a big part of why I like Metroid, the relationship between Samus and Ridley. Not necessarily Ridley fighting a space dragon who isn't Ridley. The specific relationship between the two of them is very important to me. But yeah.
It's funny because what you just said gives me flashbacks of Other M and the scene that I hated the most, where like Samus is so crippled by fear from Ridley that she just doesn't
I'm not
do
saying
anything.
crippled. I'm saying haunted. Like the thing is that like I agree. I hated that. I don't want her to be crippled, but I don't want that image to go away. She should still always have that in her head. It should still always be something that is a part of her life, but it should never be crippled by it. Which is again kind of the point I was going through when she learns about the Chozo being, all that and learns all that stuff. It shouldn't be something that like shocks her and surprises her. It should be disappointing her and be like, this is the reality that she knew but didn't really want to believe, But
so I think that basically we're like we both want Ridley there, but we both are kind of at the same point where it's like, how do you get Ridley back without him losing like big credibility coming back from the dead again?
And I think there's
the
different
hallucination.
Yeah.
I mean, like actually, you mentioned hallucination. I'll bring up an example. In Batman Arkham Knight, like the Joker was dead. Spoilers in Arkham City, and I think that they did a cool job with how they brought him into that game. I don't know if it would like I don't see it the same way for Metroid, but like I think what we both were agreeing on is that like we have to create a way to get Ridley into this game because he is like Samus's natural antagonist, and I think that so you went the cloning route and I kind of went the legacy route where it's like basically create new Ridleys.
Yeah.
So I think that both kind of have their drawbacks and both have their merits.
Yeah, for sure.
Another thing. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I just think it's interesting because I really love Ridley and you put more Ridley into yours than I did.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is that for me, Ridley doesn't need to be the main character of the game. He doesn't have to be the main antagonist or anything. In a way, he is a plot device, but I think that's fine. I think him being, ancillary to the plot is okay. And how he works with the plot in my story, he's not at all a major part of the story, but does play an important role. Is always kind of, something that I've liked about Ridley. He doesn't have to be the main bad guy, but he still plays that role and still has a hand in things. I just thought that was
Right.
interesting that you made him like a much more important character and like seemingly leading into other games. Whereas for me, he'll still kind of stay not the main character in these games. Even if there was like a sequel to mine, he would probably even show up even less. But I think
Right.
it would still be important how he would show up. But again, I think that's, it's interesting how we looking at, the future of Metroid in terms of what we want. Cause yeah, you definitely want like more continuation, like a soft reboot almost. And I'm like, let's wrap it up, not wrap up the whole franchise, but like, I would love to see like the end of it and where it all goes and leads down to, and
Yeah.
then something new. And that's why I was really,
I mean, yeah.
looking forward to doing this, because it shows, different wants of what we want from the same games we both enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, my Metroid 5 for sure leads into Metroid 6, like probably Metroid 7 to be frank.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds like what you're building sounds like the first game of like a new trilogy almost to me.
It almost is, yeah.
Yeah, mine felt like it would be like if there were a sequel to mine, it would certainly lead off. Like I would envision like the sequel would take place right after my game, and it would be Samus, like I said, looking for that Chozo safe haven. But that would be that would be it. There would be no, there would be very little connection otherwise.
So, something that I noticed from both of our pitches, and correct me if I'm wrong about yours, but I think that it's funny that both of our pitches for Metroid 5 have no Metroids. Like anywhere. Was there Metroids in your game?
Yeah, I guess I didn't outright state it. I should have, but there would be Metroids in the Chozo experimentation areas. So I that's a misstep on my part. Where she gets to like the human experimentation and the X experimentation, there would be Metroid experimentation. In fact, there would be experimentation on mixing Metroids and X parasites and mixing Metroids and humans together, and like a Metroid human hybrid maybe. So actually, yeah, there would be Metroids. But you're right. That wouldn't be a main focus, really. So that's a good
Yeah,
point.
I didn't really work Metroids anywhere into to my game, and I didn't really mix the Chozo in either, which
Yeah, you
I was
didn't mix
kind
the
of thinking
Chozo at
about.
all, which I think would be very
Yeah.
important in mine. Mine's very much about the Chozo. Very, very much.
So
Like I have
that's kind of why
unique
I put
Chozo.
in that. Yeah, that's why I put in that after credit scene to set up Metroid 6, because I was like, okay, well maybe Metroid 5 can just like take place, directly or like somewhat after Fusion, and deal with kind of the consequences of that, and then we can look forward and kind of deal with the consequences of Samus Returns after. But yeah, when I was doing this, and like I said, I was up. I just like inspiration hit me at about 12:45 at night, and I was just typing away late at night. But when I was done, I was like, oh damn, I didn't have the Chozo. Oh damn, I don't have Metroids anywhere.
Right? Like at
And
this
I was
point,
just
what
like,
makes a Metroid game? Yeah,
yeah.
I was
So
definitely
I was
thinking.
just like, whatever.
No, I mean, I was thinking like, yeah, I was like, let's take what's in Samus Returns, what happened in Fusion, all that, and let's make it happen and have it happen and kind of finish. But there would certainly still be like elements in the previous ones. But that is interesting. Yeah, I didn't really think about that. I think it just, uh, I was very hell bent on like let's the plot going forward with the first. For me, a lot of the sequel is less about the Metroids and more about Samus with the Chozo and Samus versus the Federation. And like as you
Yeah.
said in the beginning of your pitch, that you don't believe that Samus would be like immediately hunted by the Federation or run away or whatever. At least in mine, Samus was kind of like not running away. She kind of gets pulled into the wormhole or whatever. But I do think Samus would be immediately marked as a criminal, and there would be that direct confrontation. And that's kind of as a
Yeah.
player too. Just beside, other than the story, as a player, I want to fight the Federation. I want to kind of give them their just desserts, or the Dark Federation branch, whatever it is. I can't. That's a lot of this for me would be kind of like satisfying those things that I've been looking for the past 20 years. Like, all right, let me get that direct battle with the Federation. Let me get that direct meeting with the Chozo. Let me get that direct revelation of all this stuff and have it play out. But yeah, that's how I was looking at it. But honestly, man, I was expecting worse. But you kept saying, "Oh, you're not gonna like it. You're not gonna like it." So I was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" Like he's writing other M2, and you kind of did. But I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I think they're.
I knew that
yeah.
I knew that you'd hate Madeline.
Once you said that, I was like, oh my.
You know what?
God.
I'm gonna be honest
No
with
way.
you. Even I kind of hate Madeline, but I was just like, okay, would it be better to have like a new original character created for this role,
Yes.
or would it be better to have a callback to Other M? And it might be better to have an original character created.
You
to be
see, you
honest.
acknowledge Other M. I don't. I do not acknowledge Other M in the Metroid canon. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't exist. It just goes from Super Metroid to Fusion. Other M didn't happen. Whereas you acknowledge it as a real thing, and unfortunately, we live in your reality, so that's what it is. Also, you mentioned Admiral Dane. In my story, I think he would also appear as well. He would be a character as part of like the Good Federation. He would be a character that like the overseers convincing, you know,
Right.
of Samus's bad image. He's like, well, I don't really know. He's like, but look at this. She wasn't really doing that. She was doing more than that. She's not the person you thought. All that.
You know what? I
Yeah.
100%. I didn't actually explain that very well. I wouldn't say that he's in on it. He was just like directed to by like the corrupt like officials of the Galactic Federation. Like Samus is now your enemy. Like you have to like. I think Dane is still a good guy. Even though Samus is fighting him.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I was with you there. When you mentioned him, I was like, oh, yeah, he would 100% be involved. Which I thought was funny because I mentioned Prime 3 directly and didn't even really think of him. He kind of blends in with like Lord Hood and other Halo characters to me, and whatnot. But yeah, no, I think
I like tying like the 2D games to the Prime games.
I
I
agree.
really like that.
I think that's and we both of us had elements of that. So yeah, I think we'd have some good Metroid games here, man.
I think like even this is gameplay related. It's not story related, but like I think like even you could do visors and stuff in 2D Metroid. Like just have I'll just use like X-ray as example. You could equip the X-ray visor, and your whole screen just turns into X-ray mode or whatever. Like I think that would be cool.
Yeah, I definitely want to go back and think more of like the things Samus would get because I think she would get kind of these like Chozo based upgrades and all of that and the things that she finds that are the experimentation all that she would pull from that as well too. Yeah, this makes me want to go back and really think more about like the gameplay elements of it as well. Now that I've heard yours,
Well, hey, we can definitely do that on a future show here.
let's
but,
make our games.
Yeah, dude, I'm not gonna lie. I'd play both of these games.
I would too. I would play. Hey man, I would play your game. I would definitely groan when I see Madeline. I'd be like, oh, can I shoot her? But no, yeah, I would play it.
I'd be willing to say that like we could just probably replace Madeline with a new original character. Maybe there's someone else in the series. I don't know.
Adeline Hergman.
Yeah, someone like that. Okay, well there is our Metroid 5 pitches. So Doomnimal, you had to wait a week, but there you go. We want to know what you think of our pitches, and do you think our games sound cool? What would your pitch be? Let us know over on Twitter, and of course, if you haven't checked it out already, go and read the original article over on Shinesparkers by Darren Kerwin. It's pretty cool ideas in there. He actually mentioned the Decoras and the Edecoons, which neither of us touched on. But,
Oh yeah,
shout
I
out to those little guys.
Those guys. Yeah, maybe I guess they would be if you save the animals. Oh, oh my God, would this be like a split timeline situation where like if you did or did not save the animals?
I think that saving
happen?
the animals is canon. I truly think it is because like the final shot of Metroid Fusion is the Edecoons and Decoras sleeping.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah, so maybe I have to go back and work them in too. They'll just be on the ship. You can play around with them when you're on the ship. I don't know, but yeah, that's a good point.
I like that. All right, well there it is. We want to know what you think of our pitches. We want to hear your pitches, and we want you to let us know over on Twitter at Omega Metroid Pod. Check us out on Twitter as well. I'm at Spiteri316 and Dak is at the Rapture _. We're gonna get out of here, but we hope that you enjoyed this episode, and hope that you guys are checking us out over on iTunes and Podbean and Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts. Like and subscribe to the Omega Metroid Pod, and recommend us to a Metroid fan in your life. Tell them where they can get their weekly Metroid fix. We're out of here. We will see you guys next week. We're going to be chatting about Samus on the N64. Until then.